Hi, I'm Lauren
And I'm Felix.
and we run a company called Access Your Life, which is a trusted source of information for people living with disabilities and their carers around the world. Our core purpose is to encourage people living with various medical conditions to share their experiences to help those living in similar situations. In addition to our directory of honest equipment reviews, we help people rehome their pre-loved devices, we help them source equipment, and we have a communal blog. I actually live with a multitude of disabilities that affect my working capabilities in many ways. So I have actually been unable to work for the past decade, and this was very difficult to accept at first. At the time, whilst this was all going on, Felix was at university working with patients who live with
Stroke, motor neurons disease, SMA, muscular dystrophy, but neuromuscular conditions, mate, on the majority.
Yeah. And we met during this time, and he realised the struggles I was facing that were making me feel so alone were actually universal. So the idea of Access Your Life was born, really.
Absolutely. Well, put it this way, so I was interviewing patients and I'm having the same conversations at work that I'm having at home with my own partner.
So whilst I can't contribute to the running of Access Your Life, I can still provide advice and feedback and contribute in ways that suit my needs. It might be writing a small social media post from my bed one day, or taking a couple of pictures and videos of my wheelchair. It all creates that full circle of achieving something that is right for me and not trying to fit my disability into a standard role. So I am technically a volunteer because I volunteer my time and my advice, and Felix is the
everything.
Everything.
Before the Kickstarters we were going to talk about,
yeah,
I was everything.
Yeah, he was everything. If somebody rang up to speak to the social media administrator, it was Felix.
If they wanted the marketing department, I just walked to a different corner of the room.
Yeah, so it's really nice now actually having a team, and we will introduce you to some of our other team members in a moment. Now you know a little bit about me, I'm gonna let Felix talk about life with a learning disability and how that has affected his employment prior to creating Access Your Life.
I live with dyslexia. I've obviously been living with it since birth, but wasn't first diagnosed until about 7. And then through school I was really lucky. I had a couple of great teachers that would support me, but then on the other hand you get some teachers that don't believe you and don't believe you can amount to anything, or they'll tell you that you won't achieve a grade when you have the intelligence to do it. All you need is that extra 25% of time to get there. And then that led to university, where I got reassessed because it had been such a long time, and I got even more support because they went, actually, you're worse than we thought you were. So that's always good to know. But I still achieved 2-1 at university.
You were able during your education to access help in terms of support workers while you were at university, and computer softwares and different coloured paper, just really small adjustments. When you think of a physical adjustment within a workplace, you think of installing a massive wheelchair ramp or an accessible toilet, and actually it's not. Some people literally require just an extra 20 or 30 minutes to read a long document and some different coloured paper.
Although my spelling may not be amazing, dyslexia gave me a superpower in the sense that I can see the bigger picture. I can be sat in meetings, I can be having marketing conversations, and I will come up with ideas that are so out there that no one else would have thought them, but people think they're really clever.
They're assets to be proud of, and yes, as mentioned before, spelling's not your strong point, but it's all about finding things that meet your strengths, not your weaknesses. And that, I think, applies to anyone. Regardless of a disability, you work to your strengths, not to what you can't do. Yes, it's good to be challenged, but you typically go with what you're good at and what you enjoy. So having a disability is no different.
I went to interviews, and as soon as I mentioned the word dyslexia, you just see the alarm bells ring in their heads. When actually, if they thought, no, Felix could be really good at X, Y, and Z, or do you know what, this might not be the perfect role here, but he'd be work really well in this team.
We actually got to the point where we took your diagnosis off his CV, so he'd at least get an interview and then could tell them in person, I have dyslexia, these are the things I struggle with, but this is what I'm great at. And actually being able to see you in person and have that conversation sometimes lessen the blow, but there's still this group of people who it's just like, any disability, no.
Fast forward about 12 months, and the company's growing from strength to strength. We're opening new services,
Tending
events.
Yeah.
However, sadly, Lauren's health's getting more sporadic, and there aren't enough hours in the day. So I was in a position where I'm earning enough money for me, but the company needs to expand. We want to grow the team, but how do we do it?
We can't employ the people we need because we're not yet earning enough, but we desperately need the help to take the company to that next level so we can generate multiple income streams.
I did a load of research and I found out about the Kickstarter scheme, which was just a perfect platform. It gave us the opportunity to employ people with disabilities. It gives us a way in which we can treat everyone equally. We can pick a team based on each other's strengths so that we negate each other's weaknesses. And now we have a couple of Kickstarters. We're getting 3 more in the coming months.
Yeah.
And we have a team of disabled volunteers like Lauren who chip in as and when they can around their disability.
It has worked incredibly well. We have Cameron and Hannah, who both live with very different conditions, and you're going to hear from them both shortly. And what they have achieved during their first few months within Access Your Life is incredible. They both come in after a lot of letdowns and rejections and a lot of negative experiences surrounding their disability, either preventing them from getting work or impacting their work or even completely ruining employment opportunities.
Also, trust in employers.
So they came in extremely
hesitant when we said, look, tell us the truth. If you're having a bad day, have a bad day.
More importantly, their needs are never an issue. As long as they are open and honest with us, then we will, work around it. Okay, not every job is suitable for flexible working hours, but the vast majority, it can be done if needed, as long as there's that trust with the employer and the employee. And we have that agreement in place that if someone can't commit to their full hours that day, that they are, caught up in a certain amount of time, and that is communicated back to us. And it works both ways. If we can't commit to something, say we were going to have a group call or a training session with someone, and we can't do it, we have to be honest with them as well. It's making things feel as normal as possible. And there are so many ways that can be done discreetly as well. And I think people would be shocked at how easy it actually is to accommodate disabilities. Clearly we could talk all day about this, so we are going to switch over to Hannah and Cameron now so you can hear about their perspective since working for Access Your Life.
Hey everyone, my name is Cameron and I've been diagnosed with autism, depression and anxiety. I'm the social media administrator for Access Your Life, which means I create and promote their promotional content, corporate content, create and edit their videos and create the newsletter that we send out to our users every month.
What misconceptions would you say are associated with employing people with disabilities?
One of the common misconceptions that I find with employers like me with mental health struggles or a learning disability is that we're not reliable or mentally prepared enough to get the job done. So in a way, we're not taken very seriously enough to show our full potential, and that hinders our confidence and self-esteem and our employability, really.
Can you share any negative experiences relating to your employment or education relating to disability?
I was only just diagnosed with autism at the beginning of this year. So, in terms of my employment and educational history, I've received no support whatsoever throughout undertaking my studies, such as my GCSEs, A levels, bachelor's degree, and master's degree. If I'd received this support earlier, and if I had been diagnosed earlier in my childhood, I would have been able to get the help and support that I needed, such as being able to achieve higher grades or even get really good work experience to start my career off. Um, but as the majority of my adult life has so far been job rejection after rejection, which is normal for someone, it's it's life. We all get rejections and all that. But being an autistic person, it can be 10 times harder than a neurotypical person because you're not given sufficient support enough to progress.
And how do you think Access Your Life has provided you with an inclusive space to work within?
Well, it's shown me that my disability doesn't define who I am and that my skills and abilities are still worthy of being like an employee, and no matter what the job is. And Access Your Life has given me the opportunity to be flexible, as I'm also a part-time carer for my partner who was just recently in hospital with a spinal cord injury. So I'm able to create content, develop my skills freely with no limitations whatsoever.
And then lastly, how do you think other employees could become more inclusive and adaptive and open-minded?
I believe other employers need to look at the person applying for the job rather than what they can and can't do. Because, for example, if a person is dyslexic, you're not going to discriminate against them because they've got that, because they can't help it, for example. But just because that person is dyslexic, it doesn't mean they haven't got good problem solving skills or really good verbal communication skills. Or if someone is in a wheelchair, that doesn't necessarily mean they can't do a desk job or think for themselves and come up with really good ideas, because that doesn't limit them. Basically, there's more to a person than just their disability. And I think that's something that employers really need to take on board.
Hello, my name's Hannah. I have fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, a few other comorbid conditions that mainly presents in fatigue and pain, and I have migraines as well, those sort of things. At Access Your Life, I'm the website administrator, so I work on the blog, the listings for our secondhand equipment, and I also do some social media and some of the planning bits that we do for content that we've got going out.
What misconceptions are associated with employing people with physical disabilities?
I think one of the main ones is that a few adjustments or accommodations just aren't worth it, or that that potential employee isn't worth some adjustments or accommodations, when actually I think we can learn a lot from employing disabled people, because the adjustments and accommodations that can serve disabled people will often serve a lot of your employees in a lot of different ways. And I think primarily that they're there to make work accessible for that individual. But also when you employ disabled people, a lot of the time in interviews and things like that, you're asked what unique things you can bring, and I feel like isn't experiencing life with disability like a really unique experience? Isn't that really a unique perspective? There are things that you will learn from disabled employees that other people just won't be able to teach you or like demonstrate, not because of any weakness of theirs, but simply because that's not a lived experience that they've had, and that's just how life works. We come together with all our separate lived experiences and create teams that are strong because they're coming from a range of different experiences that bring people with that bring people's empathy and problem solving and a range of different skills forward.
Can you share any negative experiences relating to employment or your disability?
I was at one job where I became ill during that time, and I wish I'd known better how to really push for having those accommodations and reasonable adjustments, because I wasn't able to really sit down much, which just meant that I got sicker and sicker over time, to the point where I wasn't able to come in anymore. And my contract at that workplace ended up being cut short because I wasn't able to go in and do the job that I was there to do. And there have been other cases where I have had those conversations, but still there's kind of an expectation, I guess culturally, in what we expect in work environments about, for example, how standing up is the professional and approachable way to be, when actually I can really do the job if I just have the opportunity to sit down, and you'll get so much more out of me because I won't be struggling and I won't be in pain. But yeah, there are places I haven't been able to stay long term just because it hasn't been very sustainable on my body.
How has Access Your Life provided an inclusive space for you to work within?
The flexibility for me is one of the most important things. The nature of my health conditions means that they can be very unpredictable. I don't know if I'm going to wake up feeling my best that morning or my worst that morning. So even just being able to say, I had a really rough night, can I work in the evening instead of in the morning? Or I have a migraine today, can I, instead of working today, do my work day on Saturday? Means that I'm still able to get the job done. And it means that we're able to maintain this open and honest communication, where instead of people powering through and continuing working when they're feeling sick, people sort of say I feel unable to do this task, and everyone is ready to sort of cover each other's any weaknesses, any sort of shortcomings or anything like that. And you know that when you need that support, people will do the same for you, because it's working as a team and there is that open communication. And it works really well on a team that everyone is disabled on our team, and we communicate really well in that way, and we're able to get the job done.
How can other employers become more inclusive, adaptive, and open-minded?
I think in the same way that we look at employees, we look at their experiences and how they have strengths and unique perspectives through that, disabled people are exactly the same way. And disability is a unique experience to that person. And yeah, I think for me, having an employer who's willing to be open-minded and work around sort of how I work my hours means that they're still able to employ me and get access to me and my strengths and my skills and my unique experiences and perspectives, rather than sort of disability being something that shuts people off at the door. There's still that opportunity for that person to be employed and do the job really well.
Hopefully you found that insightful and learned something from their experience. Having them both on our team has been such a joy, and we are so excited to get 3 new Kickstart placements in the coming months and offer them the same experience, not only personally but professionally as well, and finally to see what it does for Access Your Life, because having them on our team has taken our platform from strength to strength.
Cameron, in his first month, grew the social media platforms by 140% in his first month. And actually, their ability to overcome their struggles will add so much to your team that I guarantee you'll learn more from them than they learn from you.
Yeah. If you have any questions about employing people with disabilities, how to bridge that gap, how to make your workplace accessible, please contact us, get in touch via our website, our social media pages, and we would be more than happy to help. You can also get in touch if you'd like to speak to Cameron or Hannah directly. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.
Bye.